Greetings all, this is Nick from Those Hairy Gamers, back on FFG's X-Wing page because over the weekend we had Wave 12 of X-Wing revealed, and now we have a proper article that actually details some of the stuff we get with these ships. I have with me here Justin from Those Hairy Gamers.
Hello.
Very good, you sound very hyped.
I am on the hype ship.
Excellent, the good ship hype.
The good ship hype.
As you should be, because these ships look pretty bloody awesome. Let's dive right into what we have here. So first of all, we have the Alpha Class Starwing, more commonly referred to as the Assault Gunboat. Now Justin, do you know where this is from?
This is from the original X-Wing, was it PlayStation?
I believe it was just PC.
PC, okay.
Yeah, basically it was a pretty basic simulator used to just fly X-Wings and TIE Fighters, and it was pretty awesome. I actually had it when I was a kid. Basically, it was a good sandbox tool just to play around with all the ships in Star Wars, which is kind of what this game has become. And this ship was added on the Imperial faction in that game as a way to kind of balance out the factions. It didn't really have a good, strong, hearty ordnance ship like the Rebels did. It basically, my understanding, was their answer to the Y-Wing. They wanted to give the Imperials something like a Y-Wing, so the two factions balanced out. And to that end, I thought that Fantasy Flight were not going to put the Assault Gunboat into this game for that reason. We don't want ships that function exactly the same way on the different factions. We want ships that function differently on the different factions, because it makes the game more different. It makes the game more flavourful. But they've done it, and it's nothing like the Y-Wing, so it's okay.
And it looks nothing like a Y-Wing.
No.
In any shape or form.
Well, it's not meant to look like the Y-Wing, but it functioned like it. And this one definitely doesn't function like a Y-Wing at all. So the basic frame of it is it has 2 attack, 2 defense, 4 hull, 3 shield. Its upgrade bar consists of a torp and a missile. Pretty straightforward. And its actions are focus, target lock, slam, and reload. Now, these 2 actions at the end there are very significant. Slam, we know what slam does. It came in the K-Wing pack. Basically, if you take a slam action, you can move your ship the same distance you did your maneuver during the activation. Meaning if you do a 3-speed maneuver, you can do any other 3-speed maneuver right after it. It also means you get a weapons disabled token. So it's kind of like a really good boost, but then you can't shoot, which is fair enough.
So if, say you're doing a 3 bank to the left, do you have to do another 3 bank to the left, or could it be a 3 to the...
Nope, any 3-speed maneuver.
Wow.
We don't know what's on the dial of this ship, so we don't know how powerful that is.
Yeah.
If it has like a whole rake of 3 speeds, you could do a 3-speed right, then a 3-speed left, and do like a massive S-bend, but we don't know where it's coming from. So it has the slam, and there's always the caveat with slam that you can't attack after you slam, except with this ship. It's not the case anymore because we have this title for it. The XG-1 Assault configuration. Your upgrade bar gains 2 cannon upgrade icons. 2 cannons. Now this is interesting. Wow. I don't think in the game currently there is much value in having 2 different cannons, so we'll see how this plays out. You may perform attacks with cannon secondary weapons that cost 2 or fewer squad points, even while you have a weapons disable token. So they're not big attacks. We're talking tractor beams and flechette cannons, so nothing too overpowered, but it's still an attack when you have a weapons disable token.
Yeah.
That's big. That's really, really big. I like that a lot. Which leads me on to the last thing they actually have on the action bar, the reload icon. Now, this is new to this wave. 2 of the 3 ships has it, and basically this is Quinn Just built into an action. Ships with the reload icon in their action bar may perform a reload action. To reload, choose any number of the ship's equipped discarded torp or missiles. That can be 1 or more. Wow. Very big.
Yeah. Upgrade
cards and flip them face up. Then assign the ship with a weapons disable token. It's actually better than Quinn Just, because Quinn Just can only do 1. However, Quinn Just can only take 1, so that's a bit different. But we now have 2 ships in the game that can reload a torp and a missile, or just one of them, in exchange for a weapons disable token. And that's well worth it.
Yeah.
Missiles and torps are very powerful. It's well worth losing a turn to get it back up again.
Well, and even then, you're not losing the turn because you've got the cannon.
Exactly right. If you take the title, it means the weapons disabled actually doesn't hurt you too much. You probably still want to be able to shoot with another ordnance or a cannon or something good. It's not I just get to attack. It's a weak attack, But as I said, the fact that it's still an attack when you have weapons disabled is still pretty potent. It's very potent indeed. Just going back to the spread, we can see a few things that are of some significance. We have a couple of new cannons. Awesome. We haven't seen any new cannons in the game for a very long time, so I'm happy about that. This one, Jammer Beam. Attack one ship. I think it's something to do with if you hit the ship, they get a jam token, and then you cancel all dice results. This is another new thing in the game. Jam tokens. When a ship has both a jam token and a focus, evade, or blue target lock token, remove the jam token. Then that ship chooses and removes one of its focus, evade, or blue target lock tokens. A ship is jammed if it has a jam token. So this works a bit differently from the jam action we've seen in huge games. In those, you jam a ship at range 1 to 2 and they get up to 2 stress tokens. You give them stress tokens until they have 2. So this doesn't work the same as a jam action from the Epic game, which is a bit confusing that they've called it the same thing, but we had to go through the rules just before just to make sure we knew what we were talking about. Like, this is not the same thing that we were talking about, but that's what it is. So we don't have any jam actions on these ships, but we have... it looks like we have a few different ways of giving out the jam token, which is cool. It doesn't say explicitly whether the jam token goes away at the end of the turn. I'm guessing it doesn't, which means a ship stays jammed until it takes a token, and then it removes all the tokens, including the jam token.
That makes more sense.
Yeah, exactly. So basically, it locks down a ship a bit lightly. I mean, there are ships that get multiple tokens one turn, so it's not going to hurt them too much. But still, that one token could have saved them.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, depending on if you can get maybe a focus and an evade on the same turn,
yes,
it's not necessarily going to hurt you too much because they get to decide which one they want more.
Exactly. But honestly, if you're flying aces, it still does hurt not having both.
Okay.
You often want to spend both in the same defense just to make sure your ship doesn't die.
Okay.
So this is significant. This is a very cool new control mechanic that they put in the game. I quite like it. We can see a little bit of info on these new pilots. We have 2 generics. I can't see if this PS4 generic has an EPT. The card next to it covers it. A PS5 Lieutenant something. We also have PS7 Major Vinder. When defending, if you have a weapons disabled token, roll 1 additional defense dice, which is really cool. That's really cool. It means you can dive into the middle of battle with a slam and you have not just lost your ship, because it's really good. If something's headhunting you and you want to try and slam away from them, but they still get a shot, it's going to make it very hard for your ship to die. I think this guy is sort of trying to be an ace. The Gunboat doesn't strike me as a very ace-efficient ship, so that might not be the case. But yeah, it's cool. It's a cool idea. I think it's going to be very effective, and we'll see how all the other pilots fare. So also in the spread, we have a new EPT. We have the cruise missiles. We know what that does. These 2 new cannons, which we don't know what they do. Advanced slam. Yep, the ship has the slam action. That's fair enough. By the way, Justin, in case you didn't know, that lets you take a free action after you do a slam maneuver.
Oh.
Very, very powerful. Very powerful. So you could slam in to the middle of a battle and then reload. Or you could slam in and target lock, or slam in and focus. Or if you have equipped cards with actions on them, blah, blah, blah. There's lots of options to do with that. It's a very powerful card. Very good on the K-Wing. And it'll be very good on this as well.
Yeah.
We have the title, and I don't know what this is. This is either another title or a modification. I'm going to assume it's another title. It seems to play around with torpedo slots. That's kind of the symbols we can see on that. The title that we can see plays around with cannon slots, so it makes sense that they might give you another option that can play around with torpedoes. Give the ship a bit of versatility. It's an ordnance-based ship. It makes sense that they give you strong options with both different types of ordnance or secondary weapons. Righto, next we have the Kimagila ship for the Scum faction. This is another one of the Mandal motor ship flown by the Hutt cartel. Looks really cool, and it offers a new mechanic in the game called the Bullseye Firing Arc. Basically, printed on the firing arc of your ship, you have these dotted straight lines, which represents an area right in front of your ship that's called the bullseye area. And if you get ships in that bullseye area, you get a bonus. Makes perfect sense. Huh. I always thought it was interesting in X-Wing how ships can fire in a sort of near 90-degree arc when they have forward-facing guns. It makes sense.
Stop using logic.
It makes sense that the game does that mechanic-wise, but it doesn't make sense in terms of the actual way the ships function. So now they're saying, you know what, we're actually going to make sure if you do get ships right in front of you, you get some kind of bonus. And this ship, what we can see so far, it's all built around that. So we have this explanation here of what the bullseye firing arc does. When attacking, if the defender is inside your bullseye firing arc, the defender cannot spend focus tokens to modify defense dice or evade tokens to add an evade result.
Wow.
It's nasty. That's really nasty. Now, the thing about that is the most powerful against aces. It's going to be the most difficult thing trying to get aces in your bullseye firing arc. So there's a bit of balance built into it. The easiest thing that's going to go into your bullseye firing arc is big ships. And big ships don't tend to rely on tokens so much. They do sometimes. But I like how the more imperative this is, the harder it is going to be pull off. It's like they've built this scale of balance into it right from the get-go, and I quite like that. So what we can see out of this spread so far, we have Taurani Kulda. After you perform an attack, each enemy ship inside your bullseye firing arc, not just the one you shot, every enemy ship inside your bullseye firing arc, at range 1 to 3, must choose to suffer 1 damage or remove all of its focus or evade tokens. Now, that's pretty good. The problem is they might just not have focus or evade tokens, and then they just go, I'll just remove all my focus or evade tokens. Done. And nothing happens. But at the same time, that could be really powerful. Against a TIE Swarm, they're going to have lots of focus and evade tokens all over the shop. That's how TIE fighters function.
Yeah, this looks like it's going to be a TIE killer.
Yeah, which I'm more than happy with. TIEs aren't big in the meta right now, but they do come back every now and then, so it's nice to have something that plays around with that. And it's a cool ability. If you're fighting against multiple aces, he's going to be a great headhunter to those. Obviously, the best counter to this is just to not take focus or evade tokens. But then again, forcing your opponent to not take focus or evade tokens changes their strategy, and that alone is quite powerful. We don't see any details on the other pilots. 2 generics, one at pilot skill 3, one at pilot skill 5 with an EPT, always good to see. We have another guy here. Now, this is interesting. Pilot skill 7, Daelin. If you have a look at the Star Viper pilot, Daelin Oberos, you actually see that the letters on his card line up perfectly to where the letters on this new card appears. So this could be the second ship Daelin Oberos is in. It doesn't look anything like his Star Viper. It's not like in that yellow colour scheme. It's a different pilot skill and clearly different pilot ability. So it would be a massive coincidence if there happened to be another pilot called Daelin something something that happened to be the exact same length in his name, so it lined up on the card perfectly. But I think that's interesting. We might have an example of a scum pilot going on 2 different ships. That's new for the faction, which I quite like. Now, usually when we have the same pilot or crew on different things, it's on things that would combo so well together that it would be broken. So the way they get around that is they make it the exact same unique thing, so they can't combo. Apart from that, in the spread, we can see 2 of this new EPT, which is the same one from the assault gunship, which is quite cool. Plasma torpedoes. Something that looks like scrambling missiles. Again, if we have a look at the tokens, we can see jam tokens. I'm going to guess right now that those have something to do with each other. Makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
R5TK, another unique salvaged astromech, which we don't know much about, but it either costs 0 or 10. I'm going to guess 0. I don't think we're going to get a 10 cost astromech. It might happen, but
one day.
One day.
He does have a pit droid with him, so maybe he's worth the 10.
Yeah, maybe. Pit droid.
And a mouse droid. Maybe he is worth 10.
Maybe he is worth 10. I'm going to guess no, though. Okay. We have the Enforcer title, which we can actually see goes on their ship. After defending, if the attacker is inside your bullseye firing arc, if it receives 1 stress token. So it gives you a defensive bonus from flying aggressively. Perfect. That's very scummy. I like that.
Yeah.
So basically, we know the named pilot wants to have guys in his bullseye firing arc, so I think this is all gearing up to make this ship super aggressive. We don't know how good the dial is. We do know it has a barrel roll, which is awesome. We do also know that it has the reload action, just like the assault gunboat. It, to me, feels like it's going to get aggressive. We have Dead Man's Switch. When your ship dies, every other ship at range 1 suffers 1 damage. Pretty straightforward. And we have another new illicit, container cybernetics or something like that. Looks like defensive war droids or something like that. When you ship during phase, card, token, something, we have no idea.
To me, the droid looks a lot more like the droid from Rebels, where it was the protocol droid that transformed into the spy droid.
Oh, yeah. When Zeb finds that droid in the desert, and then it turns out to be a spy that tries to destroy the base.
Yep.
Oh, you're right. That looks awesome, yeah. Interesting that it's on the Scum faction then, not the Imperial faction. So yeah, that's everything we can see on the Kimigali fighter. Let's move on to the next ship. Alright, something else from Rebels. The Phantom 2. We have the new Phantom finally in the game. It feels weird that we still see ghosts on the field that use the old Phantom when it's destroyed. Yeah. So we're updating it. We're getting new Rebel stuff, which is cool. Looks really cool. It has a rear firing arc, which is nice. 2 attack dice, 2 defense dice, 4 hull, 1 shield. Not the tankiest of ships, but relatively cheap.
Well, it was never meant to be a tank.
The impression I get with this ship is it's meant to be kind of like a mobile command post. It has the coordinate action, and when it's docked to the Ghost takes a free coordinate action at the end of combat. Just like the old Phantom gave you a free turret attack at the end of combat, they've sort of changed the flavour of how that works. And I think in the context of how it works in the game, that makes perfect sense. We can see pretty much what all of these pilots are. Fen Rao, finding the Rebel faction. It's about time. He joined the Rebels about 6 months ago, so it's about time we saw it in X-Wing. When an enemy ship inside your firing arc at range 1 to 3, by the way, when it says firing arc, Justin, it means either firing arc. It doesn't say secondary firing arcs, it doesn't say primary. That means it could be either. At range 1 to 3 becomes the active ship during the combat phase. If you are not stressed, you may receive 1 stress token. If you do, that ship cannot spend tokens to modify dice when attacking this round. So it locks a ship down that's trying to attack you or one of your friends. It's very Rebel. It's very Rebel. Yet again, we have another annoying combo to go with Biggs. Yeah, if someone can make a list with Fen Rao, Captain Rex, Lowrick, and Biggs, it's going to be so hard to kill. It's not going to have much firepower, but at the end of the day, if you lock down your opponent 100%, who cares? Oh well, it's the Rebel thing. Let him have it. We also have Ezra and Zeb, who look like they have the exact same abilities they have from the old Phantom. Makes perfect sense. And we also have a new pilot for the Rebels, which is clearly going to be AP5. Pilot skill 1. Makes perfect sense. Can't see his card text, but cool. Might be a good cheap buy-in for this card. No longer is Zeb the worst pilot on the Phantom. It is now AP5.
I liked AP5 in Rebels. He reminds me of Alan Rickman.
Alan Rickman as, was it Malvin?
Malvin from
Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, which is kind of cool. A very cool character. And look, his ability could be terrible, but at the end of the day, he'll be the cheapest buy-in for the Phantom, so if you want a cheap Phantom on the field, you'll probably take him anyway. The spread has the Ghost and the new Phantom card. Yep. A flight astromech, another new generic astromech that we don't have revealed yet. A chopper astromech card. Previously, we only had a crew chopper. So this is interesting. Action something equipped something. So he gives your ship some kind of action. Sounds cool. We have another generic crew counter intel agent. I don't know, something like that. But this is what I'm so excited about. We made a point of looking through these spreads with a fine-tooth comb before the start of this recording, and we noticed this, which they've actually conveniently revealed quite a bit of. It's like the card sticking out a bit more than the other ones. And if we zoom right in on that, it's a very short name, it's unique, and it starts with M. And the weird thing is it starts with Scum only. Why would it have Scum only on a Rebel ship? And it says after that, and this is also part of the requirement text, lose something Rebel something only something. It almost sounds like this is a Scum crew that takes a Rebel ship and puts it on their faction.
Ooh.
Yeah, I don't know. That's kind of what I'm thinking.
Yeah, that'd be nice.
It's like Scum only, lose your... Is this a Scum crew that takes ships off Rebel or Imperial and puts it on the Scum faction? Or is it a Scum crew that goes on a Scum ship and then that ship goes onto the Rebel faction? Now, that'd make a lot of sense. because in Rebels they fight alongside the Mandalorians, all that kind of stuff. So I'm thinking because this is a Rebel expansion pack, that's what it's likely to be. The Rebels certainly work with the underworld of the galaxy during the Rebel show, so it makes a lot of sense that they do that kind of stuff, and vice versa, obviously.
Indeed.
When attacking something, ship something, yeah, no idea. But we know it plays around with the factions somehow. We just don't know how yet. And that's really, really exciting to me. I'm so pumped to see what this guy does.
Yeah.
Typically, we get these ships revealed to us in the coming articles from least to most relevant in terms of the impact on the game. The most powerful ship tends to get revealed last. I thought that was going to be the Assault Gunboat. But the Phantom 2 is the last ship in this article, which means it's probably going to get its last reveal article. And it could be this card that is the reasoning behind that. It could be that card which turns the game on its head.
That makes sense.
I mean, in the last wave, the Scourge was revealed last. And lo and behold, the Scourge has absolutely turned the meta on its own head. And that's just really exciting. Something that plays around with factions is... I'm so glad that they're still playing with the format. I think they can be doing more, but this is a good start. This is like messing around with factions. It makes sense in terms of how do we mess with the format of the game. It also makes sense flavor-wise in terms of how the Rebels function, that kind of stuff. So that's really cool.
Yeah.
Now, one more thing, Justin, that you noticed.
I did.
Explain to us, what's going on here?
So it says here, look for X-Wing Wave 12, SWX 69, 70 and 72 to arrive at the retailers in the fourth quarter of 2017. I said to Nick there, that's missing a number.
It is missing a number. That's missing 71.
Yes.
And then I looked back through all the other products and we don't have a 71 yet. So we have a sequential number within this wave that has not been revealed yet, which means, in my mind, it's most likely to be a fourth ship in this wave. It could be a fixed pack, but usually fixed pack are scheduled before or after waves. So we're missing one number out of the sequence, which means we could have a fourth ship in this wave. We don't know yet. Personally, I'm really, really hoping they put the Gauntlet Fighter, the Night Brother, Darth Maul ship in this wave. That would be so sick. I was a little bit disappointed when I didn't see that in the initial release, but now I see there's a number missing. Ooh, it's getting exciting.
Well, and also, so you go 69 was the Imperials, 70 was the Scum 72
was Rebels.
So it's most likely going to be either a Rebel or Scum ship.
What's interesting about the Gauntlet Fighter is, in the scenario of Clone Wars and Rebels, it flies on all three factions. It could be the first ship to go on all three factions.
No one can see this, but my mouth is just dropped.
Yeah, I'm thinking Imperials, Gar Saxon, Scum, Darth Maul, Rebels, Ezra. Have a ship that goes on all three factions.
That'd be so cool.
You're excited for that, aren't you? I mean, I'm just spitballing here, but you're very excited by that, I can tell.
Yes, I am.
And it also makes sense because we've started to blur the lines with the factions a bit. The Scourge Bomber had a card for Rebels when it was on the Scum faction. We know that this Phantom 2's playing around with the Scum faction somehow. That, to me, is the next logical progression. Have a ship that's on all three factions. Do it, FFG. That could be awesome. As long as it functions well on all three factions, it'd have to be crafted in such a way that it doesn't just favour one of those. It'd have to be nice and balanced. But I think it can be done.
Well, that ship, I feel, can be the one that...
I feel, that could be the ship that does it. Like, you got TIE fighters on a couple of factions. You got potentially X-Wing partisans might come on the Scum faction eventually. But this ship feels like it's neutral to the core. Powerful, and it would benefit from good pilots. That's why I think it'd be a great ship for all three factions.
I agree.
Anyway, enough fantasizing from us. That's X-Wing Wave 12. We'll do some more on this when more gets revealed. In the meantime, we'll catch you later.
Bye.